Okay, so we are now recording. So our goal this week or this session was to go over what Colleen has labeled as page 7 and of the septic regulations. And you guys, please will bear with me. The computer, I'm in my recliner and the computer's on my lap. It's probably going to jump around and hopefully I last. But as I went through this thing, I thought almost all of these rules could be just taken out. But if we just go through them, Bill and Lee, do you have the sheet?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
this one here, Colleen.
Yes,
And number 7.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So the first one, just number 1 says, besides those specified here, all other system particulars shall at least conform to state minimums. I don't know why it even says that, but because that's what the
Well,
rules
that's a given, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Again, this was written in 76, Dick. You were on Article 11 then.
I know. The next is number 2 is the one that says that it's a $10 for repair, but it's a fee charged for disposal works. Construction permit shall be $10 for repair. Do we want to either take it out or just say there will be a fee charged for disposal work construction permits that's set by the Granby Board of Health?
Either would be fine. You know, that's a given. If you want to be if we want to be superfluous, we can leave it in there. But if you take it out, I think it's a given that people will have to pay for the DWCP. So either way is fine.
Well, do we want to, Lee, what is your thought? We could do number 3 is the same thing as charge for a new system, which is, I'm not sure how that's different from number 2, but maybe you just leave the 2 of those things out since everybody charges them anyways. It's under fees, not under Title V.
Yeah, I'd take those out. Take those out.
Yeah,
Make it
yeah,
simple.
that
Make
makes
it simple as possible.
Okay, so that's out.
Take 2 out. All right. Is 1
2
coming
and
out,
3.
did you say? Or that's leaving?
We'll leave number 1 there, but number 2 and 3 go.
Okay, 2 and the 1 under. Okay.
The following is, the next one is just a statement. That the following may be waived by the Granby Board of Health on repair installation. I'm not sure whether you want to keep it, whether you want to keep it there. It shouldn't be on repair installation. It should be on repair installations if you're going to keep it. But maybe it belongs at the end. Maybe we just come back to that one because maybe we're going to throw all of these away.
Yeah, again, the state will allow a septic tank to go 50 feet from a well.
Right.
And again, if you're doing this on a repair, well, again, that's being very, very conservative.
That's what we said. It said it may be waived by the Granby Board of Health. It's the thing that allows us to say these rules don't fit on this particular repair. That's what the purpose of that one was. But it may be that you put it at the very end instead of right at this point.
All right, let's go, like you say, let's go back to 3 at the end.
Okay.
I'll put a
3
question mark there.
now some of these, the words are not right, but it said no septic tank, leaching field, septic pit, cesspool, or privy may be constructed within 100 feet of any well. But if you look through that, it doesn't talk about, the first thing, it doesn't include pump chambers on that list. The other is, it just says constructed. It doesn't say constructed or installed. And it doesn't define any well. You know, you could have that we currently, when we talk about wells, we call it potable water well. So what do we think about this?
like you say, it could be a horse well, it could be an irrigation well.
My
Well,
feeling
yeah,
is you ought to, if
then
we're
you're-
gonna keep it, we should call it a pump chamber, add pump chamber in there, so it includes that,
Yeah,
and then change well to potable water well.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Number 4 is no well may be installed within 100 feet of any septic tank, leaching field, septic pit, cesspool, or privy. And that would also, if we're gonna keep that, so one says you can't put the system within 100 feet of well, the other says you can't put the well within 100 feet of the system. Now, question I have on this one is that Title V doesn't cover installation of wells. So does this belong here at all, or what, or in the well permit section?
Actually, I think Title V added it in 2014, but let me do a quick check here. Stand by.
Gonna keep it while you're looking, Bill. If we're gonna
Yeah,
keep
okay,
it,
yeah,
then
keep
then it
going.
needs to have well has to be changed to potable water well, and we would have to include the pump chamber also on the list.
Hmm.
Keep it. We can make the changes and keep it, Bill, and just come back to it.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm not finding it immediately.
Okay, the next one is no system. Now, this is a change in format of what we're calling that list of things we've defined as above as a system, but it says no system may be installed within 100 feet of the mean high water line of any water course, such as pond, lake, swamp, brook, river, or open or subsurface drain. Now, we should understand we haven't defined systems there. And once we also include or an open or subsurface drain, 100 feet of that, we definitely don't do that. That would be saying if you're near a swale, you couldn't get it within 100 feet of a swale.
Yeah, that's too restrictive.
This is definitely in your world, Bill.
Yeah,
This is the one that we often use, saying you can't go within 100 feet of a wetland. What I'm concerned also about this is maybe we just call this as 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland or something, just call it at that.
yeah, I would be very vague in the way you word it, and then just deflect it to the Conservation Commission, and the conservation can take care of it.
Is what is the word for your to make it the difference between a non-identified frog pond that dries up and a regular wetland fill? What is the difference between those in your
Like you
term?
say, I think the word jurisdictional covers it because there are certain isolated wetlands that do not count.
Okay,
If the wetland is connected to a stream through overland flow or even subsurface flow,
Okay.
it's jurisdictional. But if it's isolated and not hydraulically connected to anything, then it's a non-issue. So again, I think the word jurisdictional is the word to use
so
there.
we'll just call it to the mean high water. Is that where you call it? The mean high
Actually,
water line?
what you should do is say jurisdictional per 310 CMR 10.000. So just refer to the wetland regulation.
Okay, so
That's the
Colleen,
safe-
that's what we,
Yeah,
Lee,
it's
is
the
that
safest
what you
way to
go
do
with?
it.
But system should be also, it doesn't even say a septic system that, and it doesn't say any part of a septic system. And so maybe instead of system, we put this same list of septic tank, leaching field, septic pit, leach field, pump chamber, privy, put that same list there. So they're always the same.
Now, I'm looking
gotcha.
at,
Yeah.
Dick, right now I'm looking at 15.211, which are your minimum setbacks. And it has a minimum setback from a bordering vegetated wetland and wetlands bordering a, well, surface water supply. That we don't have surface water supplies in town. We don't have tributaries to surface water supplies in town. But we do have BVWs and we do have surface waters. So it says bordering vegetated wetland, including salt marshes, inland and coastal banks. We're inland. So it's got the SAS is 50 feet. And the
Right.
septic tank is only 25 feet. So if you want to bump that up to 100 feet, that would be fine.
Well, that's what we've had as 100 for all of that. So, and,
Right.
and if we call this as a jurisdictional wetland, which could be different than a bordered vegetative wetland.
Well, again, I would refer to the wetland regulation, 310 CMR 10. That's the safest way to do that.
Okay.
And
Then five,
no, excuse me.
5A is no system may be installed within 50 feet of a storm drain or man-made drain. Is
Okay,
that
here's what Title 5 says on that, Dick.
right?
It says open surface or subsurface drains which discharge to surface water supplies. Well, that one's out. Number 2, open surface or subsurface drains, excluding foundation drains, which intercept seasonal high groundwater tables. Okay, there's your curtain drains. So your curtain drain is a 50-foot offset from the SAS, 25 feet from a septic tank or a pump chamber. Okay, item 3, other open surface or subsurface drains, excluding foundation drains, 5 feet from a septic tank, 10 feet from an SAS.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, 10 feet.
Wow.
So again, if you want to be more restrictive on that, I would support that.
10 feet.
Yeah.
Lee, what are you
So-
thinking?
I'm thinking that if we just took those regulations and put them right into ours, what Bill just took off the website, we could plug it right in and have right from the state code.
No, we won't need to do that because that's the state code. This one, what Bill is talking about is instead of letting that 5 foot and 10 foot be there, that you do take those words that they have and put 50 feet.
Right,
50 feet in place of the 5 and 10.
right. Yeah, we're going to be more restrictive.
So then that's what we'll do, Colleen. We'll take that out of Title 5. We'll use their word.
Right.
Number 6 is something we absolutely don't have anymore. And it says, no septic system shall be constructed to serve more than one building, place of business, or dwelling unit. This shall pertain to, but not limited to, stores, restaurants, factories, garages, barns, warehouses, single-family houses, apartment units, multiple family house units, and condominium units. That's just absolutely not what we do. We just follow Title V.
So I recommend we delete 6.
What do you think? I think so too. What do you think, Lee?
So that being said, and I follow where we're heading here. How does that tie in or not with this new regulation that you can put on a miniature house or living dwelling on your property currently?
That's going to
tie
show
in
up as
here.
another set of these regulations, Lee. As we get off of this group, we're going to find these other ones that we have.
Okay, so delete 6 out and just forget about it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to come back as a different thing.
Okay. Okay.
7
All right. So that's
is all sewage containing vessels or pipes located less than 4 feet above the water table shall be sealed and tested to prevent infiltration or effusion. That's another one that I don't think we need. And the other is for sure where we said and be tested. We're not defining what testing means. And what is prevention and effusion? Does that say have 0? I just think that Title V says all these systems should have their pipes all to the tops of the tank should be glued to the bottoms and the pipes be sealed.
Yeah, that's a very vague specification. If it ever went to court, the attorney on the other side would destroy this.
Yeah, I think it doesn't belong there. I think we take it out.
I agree.
okay.
Lee,
All
what
right, so
do you
delete.
think?
Yeah, we're going to delete 7 as well as 6. Yep.
Yeah. The next one is
Okay.
all systems servicing a building, dwelling, etc., containing a food preparation area shall be sized to handle a garbage disposal. And I looked at that and I said, that's crazy. Every house has a food preparation area. And that we don't have any that we never, no one puts in a garbage disposal because Title V already specifies what it requires.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this one
Okay.
belongs there either.
I agree. Let's take it out.
Okay. I'll delete that as well.
Next one. I have written down that Title V covers this one, but let's see. Disposal fields of seepage pit shall not be constructed in areas where the groundwater elevation or impervious material is less than 4 feet below the bottom of the disposal field, regardless of percolation test. I know exactly what that one was for. That's Article 11
Mhm.
that allowed 2 minute and inch soil to have a 2-foot separation between rock and water.
Oh, okay.
And that's what this one was to stop happening. So this is already covered on Title V.
Okay.
So that should go. Then, unless you dealt with Article 11, you'd never know that. 10, fill may not be added to raise the disposal field above impervious material. That one already is in Title V is covered. It says you have to have 4 feet of naturally occurring pervious material. So this was, and I don't know whether, I think Article 11 had that, but this one also, I think, doesn't belong there. It's covered under Title V.
You got my message about the deer tracks out there? Right on going.
Joel and Lee, what do you think? Am I
Well,
still with you?
Certainly, since Title V covers it, there's no point in, leaving it in.
Yeah, it's not more restrictive,
Yeah, take it out then.
so 10 goes out.
Yeah.
11 is percolation tests and groundwater elevation determinations shall be made only during the months of March and April and not in frozen ground. That we've changed it to allow the perk test to go, but we currently do have number 11 is one of ours. That groundwater elevation determinations shall be made only during the months of March and April and not in frozen ground.
And we're keeping that, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
One, I've got an extra this at 12 is fill shall be such quality that its percolation rate is 2 minutes per inch or faster. That's covered under Title V. Specifies fill quality. So it doesn't belong here. It's not more restrictive.
Okay, so we're gonna delete
12
Delete 12.
disappears.
All right.
I think this whole group, we may find it's all covered under Title V. Number 13 is when fill is required for the system installation, suitable permanent benchmarks shall be established and the system installed from this. The next is the area for the alternate. That's not part of Title. The next part is so the first one is suitable permanent benchmarks shall be established and the system installed from this. Now that is in Title V as part of the design standard. B, the area for the alternate disposal system shall be prepared for or constructed. That we have for a regulation. We do it all the time. That when people come in and say, "Oh, I'll put just the minimum fill I need, but I'll leave a big monster hole and it doesn't really exist. It's just a big space." And we make them put the fill in.
Well, you know, Dick,
But
I'm
what-
thinking, let's think that one through. How many people, and again, let's not consider the reserve between the trenches. Let's pretend people are putting in a trench system and then putting the reserve elsewhere on the property. Okay. How many people use that reserve, the reserve area? How many people actually use that for their first repair?
I don't know that. Probably not. Although what this regulation does is it almost guarantees everybody puts in a trench system with reserve in between.
Right. Because I think it's, given the fact that fill is now $30 to $35 a yard, I'm thinking that there's a lot of money to put in a secondary fill embankment. So I'm thinking we ought to be careful about that one, because that's pretty costly for people, particularly if they're never going to use it.
Well,
Well,
especially you can also argue in your direction, Bill, to say that Title V is changing with all these innovative systems,
Right,
and you go and put in all this stuff for a design now the design's never going to be installed.
right.
So, do you like the fact that we're going to end up with, I'm just asking, the result will be that people will install 6-foot space trenches now instead of 9-foot space trenches. Are you happy with that? The outcome?
Well, what's the code? It's 3 times the effective width, or 3 times the width of the system, correct?
Yeah, it turns
It's
out
either
that
2 or 3. Let me.
it's 2 or 3. And the way it's written funny, Bill, but what it means is that if you've got 3-foot trenches you need 9 feet of space between the, the insides of the trenches you're using. So you
That's
can
right.
stick a
Well, we-
3-foot trench in there. And
Right.
if you're not, you need 6 feet of space.
Right. Well, what we could do, why don't we just make a local reg that says we need 3 times the width. Let me read this. Let's just see what it says here in the code. Here, I'm just scrolling through this here. Let's see. Let's see.
This was really, the purpose of this bill was to stop from beds to go in, but as long as we've got a regulation that says we're gonna follow what Title V says about using beds whenever, I mean trenches whenever they're possible, then it
Yeah.
already gets rid of the reason for this.
Oh, here's reserve area. Let me read this. Okay. Hold on. Here it is, trenches. Okay, minimum separation distance between any 2 trenches shall be 2 times the effective width or depth of the trench, whichever is greater. 2 times.
That's assuming that the reserve isn't in between. Once you go further and find reserve in between, then it goes to 3 times.
Right, that's right. That's right.
You know, we're already at 7:15. We're gonna have to stop.
Yeah, why don't we table that one and come back to that one next week?
Okay.
Okay, regarding the 3-time width.
Yeah, that's good. That'll give us a little time to research this a little bit more. But we've covered a lot today, so that's good.
Okay.
Very good.
The next, we're gonna go, Alan is here, but let's go, if we can, quickly through the septic system. And, it turns out that Alan's our second, I'll read Alan's first. Let's let Alan hang in. The first one is Neil Jackson, 11 Taylor Street. Is a repair, an SAS replacement only. I think this is John Baker's house on Taylor Street as you first go in, just before the road into Dufresne. The 5-bedroom
That's
house,
correct.
the fee is paid, the review is complete. It's mostly cleared, grassy, 3.5 acre lot, deep stands with shallow to ledge. The ledge comes up towards Taylor Street. And it's got water table in the low area, but deeper sands. Rising towards the west, it comes up. 64-inch and 70-inch water table, no wetlands. The issues of the water table, the rising back bedrock headed to the west. The design is reusing the existing single compartment 1,500-gallon tank without an outlet filter. A new 4 3-foot by 50-foot by 9-inch effective sidewall trenches, not vented, 666 gallons a day capacity provided, 660 gallons required. Fill is required here. Reserve area is not provided. 5-foot water table separation is provided. Ballast is not required. Looks like I have that twice. The septic tank and SAS separation to other wells and wetlands is more than 100 feet. That I've got listed to discuss that there's a trench permit needed and fill is required. What do we have for issues here? Actually, what Neil did is he had the system move further to the west, so it was up onto the ledge, and he made the trenches longer and got rid of the 9-foot separation, went to 6 foot, and he got it right over the good stand. We have questions on it?
On the design information, it's specking out a one compartment tank that
He's
be
not
changed to a
specifying, he's reusing it, he's just replacing one component, he's just replacing the SAS.
Yeah, and that was
Okay,
replaced, yeah, a couple years ago. It was recently
Okay.
replaced. Yeah.
Okay.
So is my thought about it, but since he's not touching it, I don't see that we can make him tear it out.
Right. Okay.
The next one, Bill, how about you?
No, I'm good. I'm good with that, Dick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one is 73, Neil, also 73 Amherst Street. This is a complete system repair, 3-bedroom house. The fee is paid. The review is complete. There's a small lot. It's 100-foot wide, 2,600 square foot. Glacial till, shallow to bedrock. Way down on the back, it's 52-inch water table, no wetlands. Issues, the small lot, the shallow to ledge, high water table. There's the holes are right smack at the back of the lot. So most of the area of the SAS has never been looked at, but there is no other place on this lot to go. So it's going there for sure. The design is a new 1,500-gallon 2-compartment tank with outlet filters. There's 4 42-foot by 3-foot by 1-foot effective depth sidewall trenches. 477 gallons provided with 440 required. Reserve area is provided between and adjacent to the trenches. Fill is required. 4-foot water table separation is given. Ballast is required. The existing tank is going to be pumped, crushed, and filled. The septic tank and SAS separation of the wells and wetlands is more than 100 feet. That what I've got for this one didn't have a trench permit note on the drawing, so that there's a trench permit required plus the note on it. There's fill requirements. And also what I wanted to see is deep holes needed in areas of the first 3 trenches at the time of the substrip. And the design may have to be modified, but only vertically, because the SAS can't go anyplace. So it's there. That's why I didn't say, let's go do the holes now. That it doesn't matter. It just means it's going to go up in the air if there's no soil. What are our thoughts on this one? I also asked Neil on this one, the well is up in the front of the property, and I asked Neil to just look to make sure that there's not a septic system right on the other side of the street that says, you know, we should have moved this well right now, that we can't put the system here because the well needs to be here. So I asked Neil to do that. In fact, it should be.
And I did do that. And, let's see, I'm just pulling out the paperwork. Bobby designed a new system there and there is 100 feet.
Okay.
So he has it done at 70 Amherst Street. He designed a system and he shows, he incorrectly marked it as 75 Amherst Street, but it's definitely 73.
Okay. Okay. Well, Lee and Bill, what are your thoughts on this one?
At this point, good to go pending, of course, the confirmation of the deep hole. I can't see anything else we can do here.
Bill, what's your thought?
No, I'm good. You guys
Okay.
did a thorough review. I'm good with that, Dick.
Last one is Frank Souza's house. And this is on 116 Aldrich Street. Complete system, it's a repair, 3-bedroom house, fee paid. This one, the review is not complete. Neil was going to look at the SAS for me. It's mainly a cleared 1.8 acre lot, deep stands with bedrock right where the SAS is going to be, right next to the entrance to the driveway. They didn't find any other soil on the lot. No water table issue, and the wetlands aren't around this system. The issue is a very, very limited area for the SAS. It's shallow to ledge in the areas of that. It's sloped in the area of the SAS. The south end of the SAS was too deep with the bed that he had designed, and the north end of it is too near the edge, to the ledge. And the design is a new 1,500 gallon 2 compartment tank with outlet filter, and he's got a 16 by 45-foot bed, 532 gallons a day provided for capacity versus 440 needed. No reserve area. Fill is required. 5-foot water table separation was provided, but he wasn't getting it. Ballast is not required. The existing tank and leach pit will be pumped, crushed, and filled. The septic tank and SAS separation of the wells and wetlands is more than 100 feet. I was going to discuss that one needs a print permit and a note requiring it. That wasn't on there. Fill requirement. This one, I put down, and I think it was a mistake what I wrote down, but I guess it still fits. Deep holes needed in areas it's a wrong. What happened is I pasted that number 3 is not correct. But what really is a question. As long as Neil's right there. Neil, did you change the SAS at all?
I know I didn't get out of the field till like 4:45 today, so I will look at this and hopefully bring it back to, well, definitely have it ready for the next meeting.
Okay, so this one we don't, Bill and Lee, this will come back, so we don't have to comment on. Next,
Okay.
next one is Allen, lot 10 Carver Street. It's a complete system, new 4-bedroom house. The fees paid, the review is complete. It's a mainly wooded 6-acre lot. In the area of the SAS, it's deep sands and gravel. And he's right at the edge of going from some soft hill, but it goes to sand and gravel down there. So it's the edge of I guess at one time maybe it was even part of Solosi's gravel pit, but it sloped down to the west, the kind of in the north towards the rear. You got 24 and 36-inch water tables. There are wetlands away from this system to the southwest of the system. The issue are the woods, the lack of, you're out in 6 acres without many physical references. It's got a good topo, the slopes, the high water tables. The design is new 1,500 gallon 2-compartment septic tank with outlet filter, 2 3-foot by 63-foot by 1.5-foot effective depth trenches. I don't think I can read it. With vent terrace, 559 gallons a day provided versus 550 needed. Reserve areas provided between and adjacent to the trenches. Fill is required. 5-foot water table separation. Ballast not required. Septic tank and SAS separation of the wells and the wetlands more than 100 feet. To discuss the fence permit, and I said no required. That's not true. That's a cut and paste error. So it's fence permit is needed. Fill requirement. I asked Alan that the well didn't have ties to it. He's got it shown, and it's the new drawings Alan just sent out has the tie added, and also a note the temporary benchmark that the whole this fancy topo is done from is an oak tree with a pin in it. And I said a note must be added identifying that benchmark and protecting it so we don't lose it. And Alan has done both of those. Do we have
Okay.
Bill and Lee? What are your thoughts on this one?
It, from what I'm hearing and reading, everything's been dealt with.
You with us still?
Yeah, right here, Dick. This is Cindy's?
No, the next
No.
one's Cindy.
Lot 10 Carver.
Oh, it's lot
This-
10, okay. I've got
This
so
is
many,
across the street from Ed Shalowski's. In fact, it's just as you're headed towards Belchertown
oh,
on
okay.
that upper plateau where Ed Shalowski's house is.
Yeah,
It's right
Yeah,
as the road goes to the right, just as Baggs Hill is, old Baggs Hill is in there.
yeah, okay, okay. Actually, that one,
Did this thing go through your meeting already, Bill?
yeah, I think this one might have to go through conservation, Dick.
Well, it will anyway because it's new. That's automatic. The building permit can't go, but we can, let's put it, go through conservation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
Oh, yeah,
do that.
That backyard is very, very steep. It's rather
And it
steep.
definitely goes out into the wetland.
Yes, it does. Yeah, there's a swale out there. I know. We were out there on another job a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Very good.
The next one is Cindy. This is complete system repair, 65 seat restaurant. Fee is paid, review is complete. This is a mainly grassy 5-acre lot, deep sand, level, 36-inch water table, no wetlands. There's a public water well. Issues high water table, public water supply, kitchen grease. The design, it's a big system. It's the main waste that goes into a 3,000-gallon single compartment tank with a gas trap, followed by the second chamber is a second 2,000-gallon single compartment monolithic tank with a gas trap and filter. Then a 2,000-gallon pump chamber with 2 pumps, an automatic sequencing controls, alarms, and wiring for code. The SAS is 4 3-foot by 90-foot by 12-inch effective sidewall trenches with vents. The pump discharge line drains back to the pump chamber, and Allen's called out to be insulated. 1,332 gallons a day capacity is provided versus 1,300 needed. No reserve areas provided. Fill is required, but the 5-foot water table separation. The kitchen drains into a dedicated 2,000-gallon grease trap that discharges into the 3,000-gallon septic tank. Ballast is not required for any tank. All components meet Zone 1 well requirement separation. The septic tank and SAS separation to wells and wetlands is more than 100 feet. It discusses the fill, trench permit, fill requirements, well Zone 1 limits to be added to the drawing that's been done. Component ties to be added to ensure that the Zone 1 clearances are to the tanks. The tanks are close to the Zone 1, and Alan was going to show that to make sure that they kept the right separation. I haven't talked to Alan, but someone's got to poke a hole where those tanks are to make sure that the water table isn't high enough to violate the 12-inch water table / invert separation that Title V requires. So someone at some point has to check that. So
Dick,
that's
Dick, I got a question.
okay.
40 seats. Did this restaurant ever have 40 seats before?
This is 65 feet.
It says on the plan, it says 40 seats. No, it says 40 seats.
That is correct. That's within the restaurant at this time. I think it's actually something like 36. We added what we could for exterior seating. As you know, they have a variable schedule and sometimes they are swamped and most of the time they're not.
Yeah, yeah. Al, did you design at standard? You know, I've been taking a lot of these short courses,
Mhm.
And current practice around the country is when you design restaurants, you got to be very careful because the BOD of a restaurant is typically a lot more than a residence.
Mhm.
You end up having to design for the BOD for the organic loading rather than the hydraulic loading.
Yeah, I see that a lot with rest area design.
Yeah, so you got to
things
be
like that.
very, 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 very. The thing I like though is you put 2 tanks in series, which is good.
Yep, yep.
Boy, oh boy. Now, how long did the old
We have-
system?
We have
How-
actually 4 vessels here. We got the grease chamber for the kitchen. We've got
Yeah.
a large 3,000 tank and then a 2,000 tank and a 2,000 pump chamber. So there's a lot of residence time there.
Okay. Uh, Have you thought about, and I know this is a loaded question, but have you thought about putting some sort of an effluent filter on the back end before it hits the pump chamber?
Oh, no, it absolutely has one.
Oh, what model are you using?
It's I usually, commercial's commercial. I usually recommend the commercial
Well, but
type.
which one? Zabel makes about 5
Zabel's
different
fine.
models.
Yep, yep.
But you
Zabel's
got,
fine.
yeah, but
Six, even if we have to go to a 6-inch commercial Zabel, that's fine, and then
Yeah.
reduce it to a 4,
right, but
that's fine.
But the key is the organic loading on restaurants becomes very, very critical. It's more
Yeah.
critical than, so you end up having to use different loading factors. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, no, I'll recommend a 6-inch commercial on that.
Yeah, you gotta be, and again, make it give them risers so that they can go out and check that
Oh,
filter
absolutely.
every month. That's got to be checked very, very frequently. But that's something that I think the next revision of the code is going to address is BOD loading of non-standard facilities, and
Mhm.
restaurants are certainly one of them.
So with that, so Alan, you'll make that change?
Yeah, I added a 6-inch filter, commercial
yeah.
grade. Yep,
Yeah, Al, what did they have for an existing system there?
not much.
And it lasted a long time, correct?
It did, but I think if you really look closely at the offset to the water table, you'll be disappointed.
Okay,
Well,
all right.
Lee and Bill, are you okay with that then?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good with the proviso that they keep a close eye on the effluent filter and fats, oils, and greases.
Okay. So
Well,
that means,
should we, do you want to put that into the verbiage
yeah, Colleen
of
should add
the-
that
of-
on.
of a maintenance
Well,
schedule?
I'm just wondering, they're cooking hamburgers and hot dogs in there, aren't they?
Yeah,
That's what I understand. What I could put is a inspection seasonal inspection.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay,
Because the last thing we want to do is foul this leach field. If the filter gets fouled, that's good because that's telling us there's an issue with the waste stream, and then they can correct it on the front end.
yeah, the good news is, I mean, they've been watching it carefully and Josh Fugler has been right on it. And so what they've had in the past, which is severe, was really undersized. I believe it was a 1,500-gallon tank and 1,000-gallon grease trap, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
So this will really help the situation.
Yeah, Dick, Frank Palaz doesn't own that anymore, does he?
No,
oh, it was, what's his name?
Good.
Is it Maloney?
Maloney's.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I think when I was on the board in the 90s, I think they did an upgrade. We did an upgrade in the 90s when Frank bought it, I think.
Yeah, they went from a 25-gallon drum to a 55-gallon drum.
That's right. That's right.
probably did.
Yeah. So,
Well, the
so
good
then
news is,
that means that Neil and Alan are both done. The next.
Thank you. Good night.
last one-
okay, thanks, Al.
Thank you, Alan.
The next one that I have, although, Alan, before you leave,
Mhm.
we're definitely, I'll go back to your letter on Ken Lane.
Oh, sure.
We'll take that out of sequence, but let's get this other septic done so I can get out of septic. This one is on 1 Jennifer Drive. This is the Tim McGinnis. And he submitted a revised drawing and I can't review it without direction from the board. Now, this one, if we recall, was a 3-bedroom house that went to a 5-bedroom. The owner told me that he did in fact deal with the building inspector, and the building inspector said you could go and make the changes to the house. And if I haven't seen the paperwork, but I certainly believe the owner that he did not do this without permits from the building and end of it. But what's proposed right now is still not going into the old SAS. So between the SAS and the street, they're gonna end up putting an Elgin system, an Elgin bed. It doesn't look very big, but it's an Elgin bed, and they're bringing the bottom of the Elgin to within 3 feet of the water table. This is 2-minute soil, so that in reality, if this would have come through properly according to Title V, what would have happened on the moving from the 3-bedroom to the 5-bedroom house would have been an upgrade to the system, which would have, at this point, if we don't give the 3-foot separation, there'll be a pump. But the Title V upgrade would, in fact, if you just came through and did it, it would have said, meet the current Title V conditions and get it to the 5 feet and put a Title V system in. So what we have right now, the 2 issues that I can't go further on is, are we going to allow the variance, any variance to water table separation? And are we going to allow the bed as compared with putting trenches in? So, but if they were just to come up right now, what they would have ended up is a 5-foot separation with trenches for a 5-bedroom house. Now the owner is told me that they're actually not 4 bedrooms and an office, but one of the engineer tells me that the office actually it fits the definition of a bedroom. But I told the owner that that's basically going to be a size of the SAS issue, not an issue of the bigger issue of saying, do we allow water table separation reduction? And again, there's a whole bunch of good area that it's available for that's occupied with the old trenches that would have in fact been used as the alternate area. It's not being used right now. So that's my question for Lee and Bill. Are we going to say upgrade to the Title V, the way the code, I believe, says that we're supposed to for the upgrade in bedroom? And so, one, are we going to do that? And if we say we're going to allow the offset in the water table to be reduced, then we have to probably say, well, Bill is going to have to go out and look at water table again to allow the variance to be given from the board. So I need your help, guys.
So Dick, if they have to raise this system a foot, does that trigger a pump chamber?
Yeah, if they go, it looks to me that from the drawing that the engineer gave, it looks like he can come up a little bit to get the 3 feet. That he'll end up, he's gonna need a new tank, and the tank is underneath his driveway. So I think that has to be done anyway. So, but he can't go very far up because his building sewer is already near the surface. So it really, that's what the issue is. It says, do you go with an Elgin repair concept with a 3-foot separation, or do you go with the 5-foot separation? That's
Well,
a
here's
kind of
here's
funding
the
request.
here's the question, Dick. Why doesn't he make the system thinner and longer? I don't know if we can see that. Why doesn't he make that system longer and then narrower? And if it's narrower, then by definition, his water table separation will be a little bit more. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He should rework if I were him, I'd rework the geometry. If he wants to go with this, let's rework the geometry to get the maximum separation we can and still have gravity flow. I know it requires another iteration, but I'm just thinking out loud
the
here.
way he's done that, he hasn't done a ton of work here because when I talked to him, I said, don't be doing a final design because the board hasn't given you final permission. So you should be doing concepts rather than
Yeah.
final design.
My thought is the weather's cold, the ground's frozen. This system won't go in probably till April at the earliest, if not May.
Grades right now.
Right? So what I'm thinking, why doesn't he sharpen his pencil a little bit, see if he can increase the separation as much as he can with the gravity system, and then we'll re-entertain his thoughts.
And
There is
my
a decent slope
feeling
coming
to
off
him,
that driveway.
what, Lee?
There's a fairly decent slope coming off the driveway towards East Street.
Right, that's where the
At
old
least-
leach field is. I told him, I said, you got nice high soil here. Why don't you, forget it's like they're afraid to dig out the old system, and that's the best place for the new system. So my feeling was, I said, I think we're gonna hear one of our members say, why don't we not use a pump? I knew Bill would be saying, don't use a pump. And I said, if I were to guess what's gonna happen, you're gonna see that we're gonna want a nice big footprint, and you're gonna want it over where the best soil was, right next to your driveway, and that we're gonna make it if you're gonna use the Elgin system, that gives us a little more safety than we had with, if you were just doing a regular bed with 5 feet, you've got some better filtration in the Elgin system to start. I said, so I would say that the board is liable to say, give us a big system up where the old system was, and get it up as high as you can get it, and use the Elgin system for the extra protection. I said, that's what I think the board would end up talking about. But
Do we know how deep the tank is under the driveway at this point in
Oh,
time?
it's shallow. I don't think there's a foot of cover.
Okay. I mean, okay, I'm not in the business, but it seems that if we heat the tank up in the driveway, and make use of the slope coming off the driveway towards East Street, you probably pick up a good 16 plus inches between the two of them easily.
Yeah, I think if you look at what you're talking about, Bill, and what Lee's talking about, he shows on one of his drawings, he shows that the pipe is coming out. There's nothing under the cellar that he's showing. So I could support doing what Bill and Lee saying, get every inch you can out of this thing, use the innovative system, avoid the pump, and get the system up and high and stop being afraid to pull the old leach field out. If that was the best soil, let's use the area with the best soil and do the best we can and avoid the pump. Is that where Lee and Bill, is that what you're kind of leaning toward?
That's my thought, Dick.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay, then that's, I'll get back to him. He's got his kids going, I think, it sounded like he was going on a skiing vacation next week with school holidays, so he's not gonna be back to talk about this anyway.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll let him know that. The Alan is still here, but
Okay, regarding
Bill
12
is
pin
not.
line.
And I want Alan to hear what happened. I mean, I wanted Bill to hear what happened. So I'll take this out of sequence to get Alan off our screen.
Yep.
Well, what I can do instead of killing time, because until Bill gets back, we can go minute. Were you okay with the minutes, Lee? For the 28th
Yes.
of January? I was too, other than a tiny
Yeah.
little change that I gave Colleen.
Yeah,
So Colleen, so Bill isn't here, so we have to note that Bill isn't here. So we'll approve the minute. The next is that bear with me as I reach around for stuff. I've got Colleen's time sheet for the 8th of February. Lee, that the normal 70 hours. Are we okay with that?
Mhm. Yes,
I am
thank
too,
you.
Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is, if I don't get something lost here, it's gonna be amazing. Uh, The next one is, Bill is back. Okay, I'm gonna go back again. We're gonna come out of this bill to get Alan out of here. Alan was hired, I assume he's hired by the owner of 1210 Lane. Ended up doing essentially a Title V inspection, it looked like, but I was there. Alan was there, Josh Shute was there, went into the backyard, went into the area of in fact, Josh dug up the tank. The tank was physically there and sound in that it was there, but you could see cracks in the concrete. So it was deteriorated. It appeared to be about an 800-gallon tank. It was not an arch cement tank. It had the drop-in baffles. Baffles, at least some of the baffles were in one of the inlet baffles I saw was partially corroded. Did water table, we actually went down, we verified that there is no D-box. It looks like Orangeburg is probably coming out with a Y. Look like 2 trenches.
Oh, so
With
there was,
stone.
so there was one outlet pipe only, correct?
One outlet pipe going into a Y.
Okay.
And it actually looked like a lateral kind of Y. And then it appears to be clay, the 12-inch long clay tiles for the
Yeah, the budded
Yes,
clay
they-
tiles. Yeah, budded clay
yeah,
tiles.
interesting what we saw, which I was surprised. is we saw the 3/4 to 1.5 inch washed stone, rounded washed stone, as compared with trap rock, which surprised me. We were near the tank, so I can't guarantee that was the original stuff, but that's what we saw. Tank is up really close to the surface. Dug down, found where the water table, called water table was, and I think Alan's gotten this letter that it was at 30 inches, and I forget, it was 30 or 28, that kind of depth. The actual water table that we saw was down in the 48-inch range, 42, 45, 48. It was, but it's all a medium sand, no stone. As I said, we found water. A conclusion while we were on site, our conclusion was that the system would fail a Title V inspection, and that the tank was not good, and that the SAS, bottom of the SAS would be higher than the seasonal high, called seasonal high water table. Where that is, where the actual is, it's just what we called it. I don't know that the seasonal high water table was, the colors were there because the pumping of the system wasn't from the house out onto the street. I can't tell anything other than that's what the colors said. What we did see is where the water table was. And the water table and we were careful to discuss it, look at where the top of the pipes were for the SAS, and to say we want to know where the actual water table is compared to the bottom of the stone. And it's reasonable right now to make my thought, and Alan can certainly give his 2 cents, as we can see if the top of this stone is the top of the pipe is down 15 inches and go another foot below that. So let's say it's down 4.5 feet. Let's say the bottom of the stone is, let's say 32 inches, 36 inches even. Well,
I would assume in those days, 6 inches below the bottom of the pipe was typical in those days, Dick.
Yeah. So it says that the water table that we saw was clearly below the bottom of the stone.
Yeah. Now, let me ask Al a question. Al, you put the monitoring well in. How deep did you go with the well?
No. I don't want to use the word well, Bill. It's really not.
Observation
There was an
well.
observation pipe put in the deep hole.
Okay,
And-
so did you slot it with a hacksaw? You cut slots in it, you put a sump on the bottom of it?
No, this is perforated pipe,
Yeah.
4-inch, just like we use on other deep holes all the time.
Oh,
And this is not to be used for groundwater level interpretation. It's not right to do it. I won't, as a hydrogeologist, I'll tell you it's
yeah,
not
but Al,
properly installed.
so you didn't
No.
you didn't pack it with Ottawa sand or anything then?
No, it's packed with the original native sand around.
Oh, okay. See, I was hoping you'd pack it with Ottawa, put an annular. I thought you'd build it in accordance with the standard practice for monitoring wells.
No, it was not
Disappointed.
intended to be a monitoring well, Bill.
No,
I'll
that
say
was
it again.
that was the whole point of the board's directive, is to put an observation well in
So-
to get periodic measurements of the water table on site.
Yeah, I'm old fashioned. I would use an auger rig to do that. I would not use a
Well,
test. And so, I mean,
well, no, didn't you use a hand? Didn't you? I
We were
told
there
Dick
with
you
the-
had
we
you
were
could
there with
use
the
my
mini
3-inch
excavator.
hand auger, Al. You
No,
could use my hand auger.
no, I have hand augers too. We were
Hand
there with the
right
mini
now,
excavator.
Could have gone down 10 feet with the hand auger.
No,
No, you didn't
I'm not-
have to. Why are we're talking, it's crazy.
No, the point is, on a monthly or bi-weekly basis, it would be really good to have a number where the water table is going forward on this project.
Why-
And now
why
we
is-
don't,
Bill, why is this different than any other job where we do a normal soil evaluation and put a pipe in?
because on this project, there's a contention as to the state of this system. This is a very important feature of this
I-
project.
I understand that. I put in over 1,000 monitoring wells in my years. I've done over 1,000 test bits and soil evaluations in my years. I'm telling you, that is not the proper way to put a monitoring well in. I was part of the regulatory committee that wrote those regulations.
Listen, I've
We're
done
in the
tons.
spot right now. We do this. Let's get back to what we know right now.
Okay,
We've got medium sand that is going to come up. The water level in that pipe is going to come up. But what we know right now is that the way that Title V tells us to look at high water table, seasonal high water table, we went in and Alan is documented, and I looked at it. It says it's 30 inches. That's and as it
I
turns
agree.
out, pretty close.
But
Because
again, that's
pretty close to what you brought to the table 2 weeks ago, Phil.
that's right. That's a granular soil, and sometimes you have relic models, and modeling in granular soils may be misleading.
But we got that, and we saw at a time when the soil, the water level in the ground is pretty low because of low rain. We saw water at 4 feet. We saw the water. I saw the water.
Yeah.
So we
Again, I
know.
would have liked to see an observation well backfilled and then grouted on the top to prevent infiltration. Do it the way you're supposed to do it. That was my thought. Apparently that
So
was.
the interesting thing that we have is we found on this site the same thing that we found, and in fact you found, Bill, not very far away,
Well, that's right.
on a system that says, given what we saw on that site, not this one, Bill, you weren't on this.
Well, yeah,
But
there's.
on the one you saw, the other one, you said, that's where the water table is. This is what we have to do to comply with Title V.
Yeah, listen, number 14 and number 10 both had observed water at different times of the year, anywhere between 4 and 5 feet down. Correct?
Yep.
Now we're
Yep.
seeing water at 4 feet down in February. And I'm curious to what it's gonna show in April. I'm very curious.
Yeah, if we were doing a regular house test, we would have stuck this pipe down in the soil. In the spring, we'd come back and stick it in there, and we'd find water table that we could.
You know, when Diane does her repair going forward, clearly she'll design it at modeling. That's without question. But now to answer Dave Gaspari's question about the state of the system currently, the elevation of the water going forward with respect to the bottom of the system is very, very important. So I'd love to have real-time data on that, and apparently we're not going to have real-time data on it.
Well, we've got real-time data that's a week old, Bill, that says it was 4 feet deep. That system is not flooded today.
Right. So the question is, Dick, at what point in the future shall we go back and do the same thing?
I don't know. My question is we have to be very careful right now, because this is on our agenda only under correspondence. It is 12 Penn Lane is not on our agenda today. And according to the open meeting laws, we can discuss this in a very
But yeah,
really
we cannot make a decision. Yeah, we cannot make a decision. I
cannot
agree.
do this right now. In fact, we should have Colleen put this on the next agenda. From what I have to look at as a Board of Health member, if we came in here right now, if Alan sent us a letter that said this system is underwater right now, and it is not providing any significant protection to the environment, then as a board member, I would have to say, I don't care. This letter is so serious about a safety concern. We have to discuss it. But that's not what Alan's letter said. Alan's letter said that the system is providing. Today, it's providing some protection, that it's
But-
not underwater. So putting this on the agenda for 2 weeks from now, Bill and Lee, from my standpoint, to comply with the state regulations that says to make a serious, direction setting decision, the proper thing would be to get Diane, I know, has this letter now, that Diane probably, I can't say what Diane does with her engineer, she works with her engineer. But from the Board of Health standpoint, what we should be doing is we could schedule Diane to come in to talk to us with the intent of coming up with what we said the last time we talked.
Let me ask a question, Al, let me ask you a question. Were you hired by Diane to do a Title V inspection?
I was hired by Diane to go out and look at the septics, do an informal septic inspection, and to evaluate the depth to groundwater using a deep hole. I was asked to bring a pipe to put in the hole, which was done. It was no intention on my part to consider it to be a monitoring well. It was never relayed to me as such that that's what it would be. As you know, monitoring wells.
Actually, it was in our correspondence. Well, let me
Okay,
ask you this
but
question, Al.
monitoring
Hold on,
wells
hold on,
require
please.
licensed drillers, Bill, you know
Hold
that.
on, hold on, please. Hold on, please. Could you go out there in a few weeks or a month or whenever with a hand auger and advance the auger to the water table? Could you do that?
I personally can't answer whether I'll be able to get down that.
You know, Dick, I could do this myself with my guys.
Question now, you have to be really careful about who's working for whom, and what the Board of Health telling Alan. Alan apparently we've lost, and I don't know. Maybe you guys have. I have everybody else is moving around, but not Alan.
Yeah, Al's frozen there.
Yeah, he's frozen.
He's probably
So
off because he's trying to tell him.
Anyway, Dick, why don't we suspend discussion on this as it's not on the agenda? I agree. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next topic. Let's go to the next topic.
So Colleen, could you please put it on the next meeting?
And you want me to ask Diane to come to the next meeting?
Please,
Yeah.
so what we should talk, and you could ask Diane, since Alan worked for Diane, it would be nice if the board is gonna end up into some engineering questions. It would be very nice if Diane would have Alan be here. But we have to be careful. Alan isn't working for the Board of Health.
Yeah.
That's correct. Well, that was the point of that question.
Mm.
Whether or not Diane truly commissioned him to do a Title V inspection.
But again, that's between Diane and
Mm.
Alan. That's not, the Board of Health is not the one that gets involved with that.
That's right.
We got the letter that we were asking for, and I'm convinced that we have the 2 weeks to figure out how the path forward. And I think I saw a letter, Colleen, that you put in from Diane, who said that she was anxious to bring this to a conclusion.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll get someplace from that.
Yeah, let's have Diane come to the next meeting. We can talk to her as well. That'll be fine.
Lee, do you support that as well?
Now, Lee's recused because they're clients of Lee's at the drugstore.
Well, then it's fine.
I do support, the spirit of getting Diane and Alan, on next meeting's agenda to help everybody, the environment, the board, the neighborhood, bring this to a close for all concerned.
Whether Alan's here with Diane, that is, Colleen, if you can talk, we can't commit to having Diane hire Alan. She doesn't have to use Alan. She doesn't have to do anything. That Alan is
Right.
her employee or was her employee. And so we just have to make sure that the board doesn't crisscross and all of a sudden have Alan working for the board and
Yeah.
Alan submitting a bill to the board saying, you guys just asked me to do this. I don't work for free. You told me to do it, so I did it. And now you owe me, $250 an hour for the 6 hours that I work. And the board said, whoa, that's not what we said. But if we're not careful, we say it. And so we're not saying that.
So
No.
I'm back. I had a technical glitch. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good,
Apparently,
Al.
my Wi-Fi went out. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
The answer to your question, I think, is why wouldn't we just simply go back in about 3 weeks when it's in your normal season, when we're starting to see this snow melt to occur, when the water table naturally rises? I don't, if I will doubt that it's going to be significantly closer to the surface than 30 inches, but certainly if that's what it is, it is. And if that's where if we see more oxides
Yeah.
at a higher elevation, that's where we're going.
Again, the problem is, Al, you're not going to dig in the same location. You're going to end up digging up this woman's yard and making a mess of her yard. That's the thing I'm concerned about.
Well, there's been a fair amount of disturbance there already. It's going to be hard, as you know, with some sites, once there is disturbance, to get a fair metric of that, whether you're using a piezometer, a monitoring well, or a pipe put in a test pit hole. So
Like you say, a pipe in a test pit hole, the only thing that's good for is locating where you dig the test pit. That's all.
yeah, I agree with you. And
It's
that,
absolutely useless for water table determination.
I was not given let's just say the exact instruction to use a actual monitoring well installation there. If I had, I would have probably quoted using an auger and so forth.
Yeah, because actually the letter that Colleen had sent out, there was a paragraph in there that did say, i.e. monitoring well.
Is this the same letter that was then
Guys,
rescinded?
why don't we're talking about what we just said we weren't going to talk about.
Let's defer this to 2 weeks. We're going to talk
Let's
about this in 2 weeks.
And it turns out that Alan has reported back to Diane. Perhaps we all read what Alan said to Diane in his letter. Let Diane make him in and say, okay, let's get on with whatever it takes to get this system replaced and let's get on with it. But the board is in a spot. The important thing is the board got the information that we needed to say that this system is not in the water table right now.
At this time, correct. All right.
At this time. That's
Listen.
what we found out.
Listen, I move we suspend discussion, go to our
Good.
next topic.
Good. That's what we thought we should do.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Good
Thanks,
night.
Alan.
Okay, thanks, Al.
Good night.
Thank you.
So our next item, Bob, still, we approved the minutes and we approved, while you were away, the minutes and Colleen's timesheet. The next is the accounts receivable totaling $1,660. And that comes out 1,310 from Board of Health permits, 300 from Board of Health licenses, $50 for Board of Health fees, and that totals to $1,660. Are we okay with that?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
I am too, Colleen.
Okay.
The next one is bills payable. There are actually 4 of them. Colleen actually has a postage bill for $19.15. The actually was to send the thermometer to Herb, the infrared thermometer for him to borrow it for just a little while. It was sitting in the bottom of the cabinet since Herb left the office. To Rico for $20.15 for a copy toner for the large printer. Tom Fleabot is for his animal inspections that which he included the list of for $1,580. And Tom for his mileage for those, which is $103.60, totaling $1,722.90. Colleen's got the receipts. Are we okay with those?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so those
Okay.
are approved.
Okay.
The next is a disposal work permit and solids permit, renewal for Douglas Furnace Construction for 2025. Are we okay with that one? That is a renewal.
Yes. Yep.
I'm good with all those, Nick.
I am good with that too. The
Okay.
next is a food permit to operate a food establishment that's Early Mug for 2025. This one would be, it's for over 25 seats. This one would typically be Lynn inspecting before this is issued and she would grant it. Are we going to approve that?
Yes.
That's good.
I am too, Connor. So that's
Okay.
approved. The next one, I think is an old one. This is
Mhm.
Bailu at 110 North Street. There's a certificate of compliance from Neil Jackson. And this is the as-built. It looks like he's got horizontal and vertical ties on it. This is this is an old, I'm not sure why this is the as-built was done on 1/12/2024. Colleen, do you know why this is a year old? Do you think it just hasn't been acted upon?
Yeah, the owner called, this Leanne, the owner of 110 North Street, called looking for it, and yeah, it wasn't in the file, so we had never received it. So she reached out to Neil to get it. She wanted it to do her taxes, and she didn't have it. But it was,
So we've
yeah,
already approved this probably. Are we okay with this?
Yes, that's the house on the corner of North and Lyman.
Right.
That's good, Dick.
I am good with it too, Colleen, so
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
The next thing that we have is I can do this properly. Looks like the budget request. We've got a budget request, and I also have someplace. Colleen, you have a town report that we have to do too, right?
yes, yeah, I put in all the numbers for the fees and the diseases.
So
but
your
usually-
numbers are,
Yeah. go
well, let's do them like quickly. The only thing, so that sheet that you sent us is the one that you would suggest we send out?
Yes, unless you want to change any of the copy.
There are only a couple changes that I put in. Under COVID-19, on the first paragraph, the last line says, COVID-19 will continue to impact the activities of the Board of Health. I'm not sure that statement is true. My suggestion is we just cross that one out.
Okay,
Down in the following paragraph, about 6 lines down, it says Granby continued the membership for the 2023 season. I would change that to 2024 season.
okay,
Then the following sentence of that says all municipalities are required to appropriate $5,000 to the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control. It's now what, 5,250?
250, yeah, yeah.
So we changed that.
okay,
Under smoking, the last sentence there says, in addition, the state continued enforcing the sweeping new regulations controlling the sale of vaping, accessories, and flavored tobacco products. That's true. They continued to say, I thought it was, they're not, you could say that, and you could cross out the sweeping new regulations. You could just say enforcing the regulations.
okay,
They're not new anymore. On the next column, says, so that's where you're talking about the hazardous waste. It says the amounts collected was from 23 residents. That's the correct number for last year?
that's correct.
23?
That's
So that's
correct for
okay.
last year. Mhm.
Okay, the next one in landfill, it says the post-closure operation of the landfill for at least the next 50 years. I think it's probably, we've been saying that for 10 years, so it's probably the next 40 years, not 50 years.
40, okay.
And the rest of it, I don't have any trouble with. Guys, Bill and Lee, you want to top up that report or just let it the way it goes and be done with it? I don't think anybody ever reads it.
I don't think they do either.
What we do in conservation is we use the same report, we just change the number of permits that we issued.
So that's about what just happened now.
Yeah,
Same thing, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
okay,
So the next one is our budget. And unfortunately, our choices with the budget are we can do something about it now, but what Chris has said is that they're due no later than Friday, February 21st.
Mm.
And if you don't get it by then, they're gonna make one up for us. So Colleen's given a shot at this thing. Do we go through it? I looked at Colleen's numbers. We have to, I'm guessing what this says is that everybody's gonna get a 3% raise. The part that's higher than 3%, our mosquito number went up by 5%, right, Colleen? So that
yes,
jumped
yes,
by 250. I'm just looking at,
Now remember, we changed Lynn's payment schedule around. How does that affect the budget?
it stayed there.
Hmm.
Let's put it in as if you look at our numbers jump, this could be difficult for me to find. You'll see that last year, Lynn, in the expenses column, we went from 2024, there was an $8,600 number, and then Chris jumped it to last year to 19,788. So that's where he threw the extra money, and he kept it there.
So what was her actual expenditures last year, Colleen? Lynn's?
I don't have it in front of me, but it wasn't anywhere near. you know, what you had.
So you think if we budget $20,000 for her, that will cover her for this coming year?
It wasn't even the 10,000, I don't think, no.
That's the case, Colleen, then where you bumped her number up to 20,380. Why don't you make it 20,000 even? And then when you hit our payment to the Pioneer Valley,
Mm-hmm,
which jumped from 5,000 to 5,250, right?
yes,
Then those would wash out, and then you have everything, you just went through and did kind of everything at 3%, right?
yes, yes, I just didn't, contracted services, that's her, the 10,000, so I wasn't, you know, didn't have enough to 300, so I put it in 200, an additional 200, and worked the rest out for the rest of it, but,
You know, I'm just concerned, all these food trucks which are coming online, Dick, that's gonna absorb a lot of her time.
Will. And what we'll have to do if that happens, we'll just have to go back to the new Chris's replacement and say, look at they're up, but each one of them ended up having to pay a fee to cover her inspection.
Right, that's right.
So Colleen, if you look at what you have here,
mm-hmm,
does it come out that it stays within the 3%?
yes,
Again, these numbers are also little tiny things. Do we want to just stick with what Colleen has? There's nothing that was glaring at me that was wrong.
No, that's fine. That's fine, Dick.
Lee, are you okay with that too?
Yeah, that makes a good sense.
And then we'll to spend half of the night here worrying about whether $50 should go here or there when it's very difficult. There's no way, but as Bill says, that you know, if somebody calls for an inspection, how do you predict that?
yeah,
And we
yeah.
argue about putting tiny little decimal points on things we don't have any idea what they're about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So just
So
leave it
Colleen, we'll take-
as I have it,
Yeah, submit what we have.
what I have,
What-
yeah, okay,
what you got.
okay.
The next thing we get. Working off my stomach is not a good, my
No.
stomach is not a good thing, but
No, no,
working off it is worse. I'm looking, here's the agenda again. We have Bill, you were gonna look at Taylor Street across
Yeah,
from,
Yeah, I went over there yesterday very carefully and I looked over across the street from, I believe, the house in question. Again, I saw Ryan Voiland's field. He's got a greenhouse with dilapidated plastic flowing all over the place, but I did not see trash bags. Of course, we had a little bit of snow, but I did not see any trash bags.
okay,
So Colleen, the next time the gentleman calls, if he could
Mm.
pinpoint where he sees the trash bags, I can go to that specific location. But I looked around there very, very carefully for about 5 minutes. I couldn't find anything of that sort.
And were you at 288 Taylor Street? He said it's right across from there. Is that where you were?
Yeah, in that vicinity, that
That's
whole
in that
stretch.
vicinity. Okay. I'll
Yeah, that
see if
whole
I can get,
stretch.
like, pinpoint it more to where,
Yeah,
okay,
maybe
Because
you
there-
could, maybe you could take a picture and forward it to you.
yeah, that would be good. Because there,
Oh,
there are
yeah.
a couple of vehicle tracks going into the fields. I saw the old greenhouse. He had a bunch of stakes for, I don't know if he's doing grapes or tomatoes or whatever, but there are a bunch of
Mhm.
agricultural stakes set up on a
Mhm.
grid out there. But
mm-hmm,
again, I didn't see any composting facility.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We've got another item that Colleen's got down a wine house operating without all town licenses. We've got a Granby Select Board complaint form. Uh, it sounds like within the selectmen's department, they've got an issue that says the wine house is open without all approved inspections and licenses. Colleen, are these copies? It looks to me like they're copies of things that were sent to the selectmen.
Yes, and they came in and wanted to give that to the board. Oh, it was, yeah, they think this is exactly what went to the select board. And they also wanted to make this same complaint and drop it off to the Board of Health, so.
And when they filled out the complaint, is there something in here that says we're complaining to the Board of Health because, and then we can say, yes, they are in violation, or no, they're not? Do
They,
you, Bill and
um,
Lee, do you understand what
yeah,
the
they
Board
just-
of Health complaint is here?
My sense is that, according to the complaint form, as I read it, that, their licenses may not have been approved to operate as of January 1st forward. So I believe the complaint is to, I guess, get a hold of building inspector and or town administration to find out whether or not they are in fact unlicensed at this point in time. And if that's the case, then of course they shouldn't be open.
Yeah. Colleen,
That's
are
my-
there any licenses that wine house needs from us that are not valid at this point?
well, he applied for his licenses from the board. He did. But I think, yes, the people that dropped off this said that because they don't have like the other town licenses, how can they be open even though they have like a board, maybe they have the Board of Health licenses, but they shouldn't be open because they don't have the licenses from the select board. I think that's what they were saying. So he did apply for his licenses through the Board of Health. But I guess he didn't have all the inspections. They didn't have all the inspections done. The building commissioner and fire. So they shouldn't be open, is
So-
what they were contending. I don't know.
Okay, so the licenses for the Board of Health were applied for and paid for.
And they were, right, they were signed off a couple meetings ago, or probably before around the beginning of the year, I think it was.
Okay, so the question is whether or not the town as a whole has issued the rest of the licenses which a business needs to function.
Hmm,
But that's
Mhm.
what I'm understanding.
right, yeah. That's what they were saying.
Okay. Was there, and I don't remember, was there an issue with the building inspector at this location last summer, late summer.
He issued a cease and desist.
Which has not been addressed.
Yes.
So I think it was, wasn't it? I think
Was
that
it?
from what I read in the paper said that the select board then said, yep, you can operate.
Okay, they did issue, you're right, they did issue, though they didn't, they said they have not been issued the licenses, common victulars, entertainment and liquor, because the certificate from the fire inspection and building commissioner has not been issued to them. That is what this says. That is what Kathy Leonard,
So that's that's a letter from the select board?
Or possibly another letter from the fire department.
not all department inspections were,
But
Done.
again, we're only responsible for the food trucks, the common vitulers. We're not responsible
No.
for the liquor license.
not the common victulars, that's select board too.
Oh, that
we're
is
not
okay. So what license did we issue? We don't issue anything.
Well, we did a food
Food
service license, and
and retail food, yep.
my feeling with, as you go where Bill is headed, is if you get tangled up that every board is involved with every other board's license, you're
That's
never
right.
gonna get anything done.
That's right.
That what the board has to do is make sure that, you know, for instance, if we're dealing with a septic system, which we are, that it would be inappropriate for the selectmen to come and tell the board they want to see how the board's handling the septic.
Yeah,
That-
like Brian O'Toole would say, stay in your lane. That's his
Yeah.
little phrase, stay in your lane, and we should stay in our lane on this one.
Yeah, and we can be tough and make sure what needs to get done gets done, but we certainly shouldn't be saying we're not going to give you a food service license because it's not consistent with the planning board master plan. You know, say the Board of Health doesn't deal with planning board master plans.
That's right.
So,
Okay.
so
I
I,
guess-
it,
I guess, I understand that concept. I'm curious about and I can find this out myself. I'm just wondering why the fire department had an issue. If in fact they still do, whether there was some type of a safety violation going on. And I realize we're not the fire department, I get that. And part of me says that we should, again, as Bill pointed out, stay in our lane, I get that. But if there's a safety violation, and I could be incorrect here, thinking that we have an obligation, at least morally, to find out what that, if there is a safety violation from fire, and I don't know that there is at all. What is it? It's confusing for sure.
Hmm.
We obviously want the business successful, but also safe for the patrons at any and all times. So I don't understand if the permitting hasn't crossed the selectman's desk, why the lights would be on at this point in time, independent of us.
I'd agree with you, Lee, and on making sure the pieces all fit, but I guess I'd look at it more like a building permit. when the building inspector sends it around, we don't really care that the electrical guy didn't sign off yet on the electrical roughing when we sign off on the well and on the sewage system. That we say
Yeah.
we do our part, and the guy that is gonna finally okay the permit is the one that makes sure everybody's checked off their boxes. But if everybody checks everybody's boxes, nothing ever gets done.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I get that for sure. I just, and I know we've had a new fire chief too, so there's a lot of moving parts. I just don't want to be,
Yeah, but by the way, is Russell Anderson our temporary fire chief right now?
you got me on that one, Bill. I have no
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Was that a joke, Bill, or is that true?
No, it's true. They said Russ is may come back and be temporary.
Is he retired out of Southampton?
No, he retired from Southwick.
Of
He's
Southwick?
he's retired, but I think he's, in principle, he's agreeing to come back and help us out in the interim. I thought he was an excellent fire chief, Anderson. Very, very good.
Yeah,
We'll be lucky if we can get him.
Yeah,
yes.
My feeling is, going what Bill's saying, is we ought to stay in our lane, but make sure we do our job
right.
with this. So not be someone that says, oh, when we know there's something wrong from the Board of Health standpoint, we turn our head. We don't do that. But
No.
that especially to be careful if this happens to be a neighbor dispute, to not do some overreach that Board of Health, you really don't belong here.
Right,
The-
and as long as
The
Lynn
complaining
doesn't have-
party is an individual across the street from this site, Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think we'd be careful. We go back to what you say, Bill, and what Brian also really would say is, guys, do your job
Right,
and make sure that we do our job, not the one that the selectmen were voted to do on, but to make
Right.
sure we do what we're supposed to do. So
You
my
know,
feeling is this,
the funny thing on this project is this is really a planning board issue, but there's no planning board because one of the parties is the chair of the planning board. So the select board are acting as planning board. And I don't think they're used to doing that.
yeah,
That's the problem. See, the select board's
Okay.
acting as planning and zoning on this project. And I don't think they're up to speed on a lot of those regulations. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that makes sense.
But again, that we do have issues. We've got issues that we have to watch for with the food trucks, with the food prep, with the
Oh, yes.
toilets. But
Oh,
we're
yes.
working on all of those things. And we should, again, keep in our lane and make sure our job gets done, because that's what people expect us to do
Right,
and what we should do. But that if we overstep our bounds, that we're gonna be just like Bill talked about just a second ago. When you're in somebody else's
Sure.
shoes and you don't know what you're doing, you can't help but to cause trouble. That it's unnecessary trouble and be incorrect. So my
Right,
feeling is
right.
we just receive this and say, we looked at it and we believe that the Board of Health doesn't have issues with it at this point, that we are dealing with issues and they're moving forward to our satisfaction.
Yeah, and Lynn will fill us in if anything between then and now, shows up as our agent. Yeah,
Yeah. Is that what you're thinking, Bill, too?
yes, yeah, that's a smart approach.
Okay,
Okay.
we are now. My knees are telling me it's time to not be sitting here anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
I would second that, Dick.
So this is, they definitely don't like to be in this position. Um,
No, too much.
the good news is, I haven't had to take any of the opiates, so at least you're putting up with the normal me, not the
Yeah, that's good.
That's
not the
great.
impaired me.
Okay, well, that's great. Very good.
Okay, then I'm gonna shut everybody. Oh, what next meeting is 2 weeks from Tuesday, so
Yes,
the 25th.
25th.
That's
Yep.
good. That works.
Are we gonna meet at quarter of again, or are we gonna and work on regulations, or what time are we gonna meet?
I'm good with 6:45.
Yeah, I think we're getting a lot done on these regulation, agenda. I think it's a good idea to keep going with it.
Okay, what would be the next one? Maybe we should be happy just finishing that one.
Yeah, that number 7's a lengthy one, Dick. Let's see if we can knock that one off next time.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
do
we
that,
left out the
Colleen.
separate.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, folks,
Then
thank
good
you all.
night, everybody.
Good. Good
Bill,
night.
Thank you.
good luck with your operation.
Yeah, thanks, Dick, and I'll keep you posted on if I
Okay.
need something. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, good night, everybody.
All the best, guys.
Good night, folks.
Bye. Yeah,
Good
bye.
night.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Bye-bye.